Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I have with me an amazing woman that I met. It was probably about a year ago that we met. You have a lot of hats, so I want you to introduce yourself. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. So my name is Charlotte, or Charlotta in Swedish, and I'm a newly Swedish midwife. I graduated in June last year. But before that, I also worked as a nurse in the postnatal ward, BB, for the last 5 years. And I'm also a doula and a prenatal yoga teacher. And most importantly, I'm a mother of three kids.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
have my hands full.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing. That's so many incredible hats. And I remember I had just been working at the postnatal ward, had just moved back from the States and was going to start working in labor and delivery for like 3 months. And that's where I met you. And you were doing your last placement as a midwife and doing your last few births that you had before graduation. And I just remember just like clicking with you. I'm like, what? You're a doula? What? I mean, it was just so inspiring. And I just felt like instant connection to you. So I was like,
Oh,
I have to have you on to tell all your birth stories and your journey because I think it's rare that there's doulas before midwives here in Sweden too. So I'm excited to hear about kind of your journey into parenthood and also like what brought you into becoming a doula. Like, yeah, love for you to start with maybe just when you decided you wanted to have kids.
yeah. Well, actually, I never really had a thought of having kids or when I wanted to have kids or if I was even gonna have kids at all. It was
Ah.
really just like a oops, I'm pregnant type of thing. And and okay, let's do it, But I've always wanted to be a midwife for as long as I can remember, and I wanted to work with like women and with with birth and pregnancy and little babies. So in that
Mm.
sense, I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's good as well to kind of live the experience. But yeah, my first pregnancy and my first child, I got pregnant when I was 26 and gave birth when I was 27. And at that time, I had worked as a nurse assistant at the labor and delivery ward a couple of years before while I was studying to be a nurse. And I was also like a doula for my sister's birth. Like, not, I wasn't officially like an educated doula, but I was there like supporting her. And and then I started working as a nurse and kind of forgot about wanting to become a midwife and all of that. And but when I got pregnant, that came back to me like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to do in life. This is kind of like my purpose. So for me, that first experience of being pregnant was a big shift in my life, definitely. And I started reading a lot about pregnancy and birth and both the physiological aspects of it, but also more the spiritual aspects of it, and was just very intrigued and had kind of a very like clear image of how I wanted to give birth, which is I mean, both good and bad. It's good to know what you want, but it's also hard to get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, that was like my kind of my starting point.
Mm.
And so originally I wanted to have a home birth with my first one, but for financial reasons and also because I was a little bit nervous about not knowing how it actually react and respond when labor actually started. It just felt kind of safer to not do it at home, to just do it in the hospital. But we decided to give birth in Ystad because at that time, this was 2017. They were, I mean, Malmö had a pretty bad reputation. Lund felt very like medical, and Ystad felt more like for people who wanted more natural births. And at that time, they also had a water birth study in Ystad. So
Oh.
you couldn't give birth in water basically anywhere in Sweden except for a place in Stockholm and in Ystad. So I was like, okay, water birth sounds nice. And
Yeah.
yeah, so Ystad was my first choice. And yeah, that's where I gave birth to my first son, 8.5 years ago now.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So how did that start for you? How did labor start? Yeah, just the journey there because it's like 45 minutes from Malmö, so it's still quite a drive in
Yeah,
labor.
yes, it is. I mean, the labor, I have to say, I've been very like blessed in a sense that my labor have been very like a textbook in a sense. I
Mm,
mean, it started in the middle of the night, quite mild, kind of, these mild contractions coming and going, not very regular. But I mean, painful enough that I got to like practice my breathing and kind of find a rhythm, but not so, strong or painful that I needed any other type of relief, which was good. And then we called like early morning to Easter just to check if they had any available rooms and, how it was looking over there. And they're very sweet. They're like, yeah, we have a room if you want to just come by, come by when you
mm,
feel ready. And
yeah.
so I was like, okay, maybe it's better to go early because I don't want to be in a car for 45 minutes to an hour in very intense pain. So we decided to
Mm,
go, even though it probably was like too early because as soon as I left the apartment, my contractions like just stopped.
of course.
So, which was in a way nice because it took almost an hour to get to Eastad, but I think I had like three contractions in the car. So I got there and I was like, I swear I had more regular contractions before I came. But now they just stopped. They're like, yeah, yeah, classic. But they were super sweet. They're like, yeah, just, if you want to rest here a little bit or go for a walk, we'll reserve the bed for you. So I was like, okay, let's go for a little walk, have some breakfast in town, and then come back. So we did that, and maybe every 20 minutes I would have one contraction, but nothing, nothing was really
Mm,
happening. And yeah, then came back to Ystad, and they were like, okay, you've been up all night. If you want to rest, you can rest a little bit. But if nothing has happened within the next maybe 4 hours, then maybe it's better you go home. I'm like, okay,
mm,
a little bit disappointed because I really didn't want to drive back home. But we decided to rest, and I fell asleep, and then woke up by my waters breaking.
no.
And this was around 10 a.m. in the morning, I think. So my water broke, and after that, contractions started like immediately, and they became regular and more intense. And yeah, it proceeded really nicely. I had a lovely midwife who was very like kind of like a fly on the wall. I could feel that she was in the room, but she didn't really take up much space because me and my partner, we had a good thing going. It worked out pretty well,
Mm,
and she was there, but she didn't like make herself noticeable. Really, I could just feel her presence, and yeah, things were progressing nicely. I felt like when I jumped in the bathtub there because yeah, I wanted some more pain relief, but I didn't really want to go for the medical ones yet or the pharmaceutical options. So I jumped in
mm,
the water, which was lovely.
mm.
If you're giving birth, go into the shower or tub is my highest recommendation, or at least try it.
Oh, for sure.
Um, and yeah, I had a nice time in the tub for I think about an hour, and about an hour in, and my contractions really got like way more intense, and I could feel like kind of like an urge to push, not super strong, but like a little bit. And at that point, my midwife was like, "Yeah, we're changing shifts now, so there's gonna be a new midwife that comes in." And I was just kind of in my own bubble, so I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm sure it's gonna be great anyways." And then they switched, and a new midwife came, and as I'm sure she's great, but we didn't really like connect in the same way as the previous one.
Mm,
I could instantly feel like a shift in energy. Whereas the
mm,
other one had been very, I wouldn't say passive, but just like not so like on me. And this one comes
mm,
in and is very like very talkative and very like, giving so
mm.
many directives and then instructions. And I'm like, oh, can you just like be quiet, and let me do my thing. And she kept trying to get me like to get out of the water, and I'm like, no, I want to be in here, I want to give birth in water. She's like, you need to go up and pee. I'm like, I think I already peed in the water. And she's like, oh, that's not so nice. I'm like, okay, sorry.
What?
So I could kind of feel her stress, which
Mm.
stressed me out in a sense. And then at the same
Oh.
time, I was getting this kind of urge that I wanted to start pushing. So I tell her this, and I'm like, I feel like I need to push because my body is starting to like cramp up. And she's like, well, I can't really examine you. Like, can you get out of the tub? And I'm like, no, like, can you just examine me here? She's like, yeah, I can try, but I can't really reach properly. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
And yeah, so she goes to check, if I'm fully dilated, if I'm, allowed to push. And she's like, yeah, you're not fully dilated yet. You can't push. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't breathe. My body's just like really has this urge to push. She's like, no, 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 you can't push yet. And I'm like, okay, well, then I need something. So give me the nitrox gas. Just give me something because I can't really relax in my breathing anymore. So I
Mm.
get this like the nitrox and try to breathe through that, but really I'm just like kind of panicking. This is obviously like the transition that I didn't know much about at that time. But
Mm.
yeah, so I'm just kind of freaking out and screaming into this gas mask for a good 20, 30 minutes. And
No.
then she's like, okay, let me check you again. And then I was fully dilated. She's like, yeah, okay, well, now you can push. I'm like, okay, thank God. Threw away the
Oh.
mask and just like, followed my body's urges, which was such a relief, because to kind of, when your body says one thing, do this, and then someone on the outside says, well, don't do that. It's
Mm.
really hard, you don't know who to listen to, who's in charge here. Not me at
Yeah.
that time. But yes, I started
Oh.
pushing. I'm still in the tub, and I can feel, my baby moving downwards. And but then after, I'm not sure exactly on the time, but I think maybe 20 minutes or so of pushing, she's like, I can't really like register the fetal heartbeat properly here in the water. I need you to come up. And I again like, no, but I want to be in the water. And she's like, yeah, but I can't, guarantee your baby's safety. And at that point, my partner jumps in, who's, been very supportive of me the whole birth. But when she said that, I can't guarantee that your baby's safe. He's like, okay, well, let's just go up then. So I'm like, okay,
Mm.
now I have no support in my choices. Now I have to go up, because it just feels like
Mm.
everyone is against my wishes. And I mean, I'm not really in a mental state to make any grand decisions either. So I'm like, okay, let's go up. I make my way out of this tub and to the bed. And it was just very awkward because at that point, I haven't really been in the bed at all. During labor,
Mm.
I was, I've been on a Pilates ball, I was walking around, and then I was in the water. So to just come and like lay flat on the bed was a new thing and
Mm.
very uncomfortable at that point. And I
Oh.
was wet, I was cold.
Oh.
The midwife and the nurse's sister were just like stressing to get all this fetal monitoring going. So I'm just like
Mm.
laying there, naked. Like, what's going on? I was
Oh.
just a really weird situation. And at that point, I could feel my contractions kind of declining, probably because
Mhm.
I'm not, I didn't feel so like taken care of anymore. Like nobody really noticed me.
And also
Uh,
probably feeling very like exposed, you know?
yes, very.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to get comfortable and, try to keep pushing, but kind of like in my head, timing, okay, I think it should be like a contraction now. I can't really feel it, but I'm going to try and push anyway. So now it's just like kind of forcefully pushing without
Mm.
actually having contractions. So the whole like
Mm.
flow of everything kind of got disrupted.
Mm.
And yeah, in the end, I think we did that for another like hour plus. And I could always feel like the baby's head was like, not all the way out, but a bit out.
Yeah.
And I hear her saying, she's like, okay, now it's been too long. I think we need to help with the vacuum extraction. And oh yeah, she was saying something like, she's like, oh, it's so tight, the baby's not coming out. We need to have with a vacuum extraction, and that was one of my like fears of going into labor, of having
Mm,
to use a vacuum extraction. I mean,
mm.
now in retrospect, in a lot of cases, it's not that bad, but for me, without the
Yeah.
knowledge I have now, it felt so scary. And I just felt like,
Yeah.
well, if the problem is that it's too tight, am I not just gonna have a huge tear if you just pull him out? So the doctor
Yeah.
comes in, and she's also like not the most pleasant doctor. She kind of like just stood like this in the corner and watched one contraction, and she's like, "Okay, yeah, let's prep the extraction."
No.
And I was like, "No, no, no! Like, please, I can push. Just let me push. Can you just cut me open?" Then I tell him, and the doctor's like, "Okay, your choice." And so the next contraction, they just did a episiotomy, and then he
Mm.
came out, like a fish.
Yeah.
It just
Oh.
kind of flew out. And I'm like, okay, thank God, that's over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got him, had a bit of a short umbilical cord, so I couldn't get him up to my chest. I got him like on my stomach.
Mm,
And at that point, I just felt like a relief, like, oh, thank God, it's over.
mm.
And I think we lay there for, I think, like 5, 10 minutes. And then when the placenta came, I could just feel this huge like wave of, I mean, it just felt warm, but it was obviously blood. So
Oh.
then they got like the second stress. They're like, okay, she's hemorrhaging, so they just sounded all the alarms. So they quickly just like kind of cut the cord. Well, not quickly. He already like it was maybe 10 minutes post birth, so it was still like a delayed cord clamping and everything. But they cut the cord and gave him to his father, who
Mm.
sat like in a chair, also super weird, like a chair right across from where the bed is. So he was like staring right into the whole
Oh
action
no.
scene. So I can see in his face, he's like paling up. Like,
Oh, of
okay.
course.
And yeah, there was a lot of people in the room in a very short time, and everyone's
Oh.
very like they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is great. They know what they're doing. And
Hmm.
at this point, I shortly pass out,
No.
and yeah, wake up like a few minutes later.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh
And
my gosh, you actually pass out?
yeah, and I told them as well, like, okay, I'm like blacking out, and I think just went black. And then I wake up and I had like this oxygen mask and like an
Mm.
IV going in super fast.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Oh.
yeah, so that was super scary for me, and I think possibly even worse for my partner, who was sitting there with his newborn baby on him and just like seeing
Oh.
this whole thing. And
Mm.
but then the bleeding stopped. So it was just like right at the limit of not having to go up to the OR, which was nice. So I got to still stay in the room, and then I got my baby back. And
Mm.
yeah, so it's like it started so nicely and
Mm.
just ended kind of abruptly. It was just a lot of stress and fear. I mean, the whole labor started very like calmly and nicely, and it progressed just as I had like dreamed of. But then at the end, it got very, I mean, very stressful and in a sense very traumatic for everyone.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
there's a little part of me that thinks that if maybe the midwife had felt more comfortable letting me stay in the bathtub, I think
Mm.
my son would have been born quicker, without the episiotomy, without me pushing myself to,
Yeah.
being so tired and then hemorrhaging at the end. But you never know these things, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a lot to learn from that experience.
Yeah, just like getting out of the tub where your nervous system was feeling so safe, and then just getting out of that, of course, everything's going to become harder in that sense because your nervous system's now in a whole different place and not feeling safe with this midwife as you were doing with the other one. I mean, I can't even imagine like just not feeling supported in that transition is really, really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey,
And I
hey.
mean, I thought to the midwife a couple of days later before we went home, and she
Uh,
told me as well. She was like, "Yeah, I haven't really had a water birth by myself before, so I wasn't so comfortable." And
mm,
and it was also her first like patient hemorrhaging, I guess. I think she was quite new,
oh,
and I mean, I could feel that as well that she wasn't very comfortable, so that made me uncomfortable. So in retrospect, I should have just said nicely, "Can I maybe have another midwife that's comfortable with water
mm,
birth?" Or she should have maybe had a
mm,
colleague come in and help or something. I mean, it's easy
yeah,
to, in retrospect, think of all the things that you could have changed and think that the outcome would have been different,
yeah.
but
Oh
you
yeah.
never
No,
know.
I'm still doing that with my own birth. Like it really is like
Yeah,
all the things, it feels like it's a forever like processing of like how, oh, what if, and
exactly.
it takes time. It takes time to heal from this huge experience because it's one of the most intimate experiences of our lives. And, you can't help but go back and think about all the what ifs because it's such a huge moment. But wow,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
but yeah, like you said, you live and you learn. And so how was that like postpartum experience for you, going through that and processing that?
Postpartum was hard, definitely. We stayed at the hospital for, I think, almost 5 days.
Mm.
Well, because of one of my hemorrhage, I needed some blood transfusions, and I was very, very tired and weak the first couple of days.
Oh,
And then my son had oh, what's it called in English? Like a neonatal breathing something something. He was breathing a bit too fast.
okay. Yes.
So he also needed the little checkups, and then because I was so tired, and because they were initially thinking that he might have gotten some sort of infection, they needed to give him formula. So
Oh,
that was a little bit, it was a little hard, and
yeah.
yeah, and also because I had done absolutely zero prep for postpartum.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I was very like prepared for labor, and listened to
Mm,
podcasts, I read books, I watched documentaries and this and that, but I didn't even think a minute about postpartum. I was just like, oh, well, breastfeeding, yeah, I want to do that. It's gonna be fine, and whatever. So I also learned that the hard way. There's
uh-huh.
plenty of prep to be done.
So much prep. I mean, it's really wild how you think of this, oh, this one temporary event. It's so huge, but it's so temporary, but postpartum is months and months and months, and you just
I
like don't think
know,
about it.
I know. It's definitely doesn't get all
Classic.
the credit it deserves. Like,
Exactly. Oh,
but, but yeah, it was definitely a tough start, and my like my healing from the tear from the episiotomy was also very painful, and it took a long
oh,
time to properly actually heal. If anything, it also helped me a lot in, I mean, in my work to to meet women that also had episiotomies or that have hemorrhaged, and or
hmm,
in any way had a traumatic birth, to kind of
hmm.
understand more. And I mean, obviously, there's a lot of women that have it way worse than I did. So, but yeah, it was
Mm.
definitely a very like important experience in my life.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's so incredible. And it's that classic first birth. We can always think, oh, some people had it way worse, but at the same time, it's the worst for us, like I mean, of course, birth can go so many ways and there's risks with everything. But I think that,
Mm,
it not going the way you wanted, that's enough to be like holding on to that and needing to process that. And it can take a long time. And we shouldn't compare, because it's such an individual experience, but it's one of the hardest ones. And I think like as women, like supporting women, I think we just have to go through hard things all the time. And it's just being able to be there in this very just intimate, vulnerable experience. And having that knowledge going in is just, it's such a gift to it, however the person that's in birth is going one way or the other way. You know, you're able to be there so present
Yeah.
after experiencing whatever trauma it was in your own birth.
Yeah. And it's quite funny too because they asked me, before going home, they're like,
Mhm.
how do you rate your birth experience? I was like, 10 out of 10.
No, you
Because at that
didn't.
point, I'm like, oh, it was really good, and we
Oh.
all survived, and everything was good. Maybe like a 9 out of 10, I think. But I rated it really high, and I didn't really think of it as traumatic in that sense. But then, as
Mm,
I got home and actually started like processing and healing, the
mm,
many layers of healing, then I realized, okay, well, wait, that's not at all like what I
mm.
had expected or what I wanted. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird how you would rate it right after. Like, okay, well, that was great.
Hmm.
And then 6 months later, I'm like, oh, that was so bad. Or that could have gone so much better at least.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny, the whole rating thing. It really
Yeah,
is just like, they shouldn't ask it then and there. Like that should be like a follow-up. There should be like a follow-up, not only like 6 weeks or whatever after. It should be like 6 months after also.
yes,
Like it's so important. It's
definitely.
just like bye after 6 weeks. It's just not right.
No. And because I mean, during the healing that took place, I mean, it's like a whole year at
Mm,
least. I was like,
mm,
okay, well, I think I'm just gonna
mm.
stick with one child. I'm done, This is enough.
Oh. Mm,
And I kind of had that mindset, I'm just gonna have my one child.
mm,
And then eventually, me and my son's father, we separated a few years later. And then I
mm.
met someone new, and I told him, I think on our first date, he's like, oh, I want kids. I'm like, I don't. And he's like, okay, well, let's just, date and have fun. Then it doesn't have to be anything serious. I'm like, okay, great. And then I had another oops. And we talked about it. I'm like, okay, we love
Mm,
each other, and this happened. So, we're grateful for it.
mm.
And then I kind of, during that pregnancy, I kind of worked on the other end. I don't feel like I need to prepare so much for labor because this point I'm already working in the postnatal ward. I had already done my doula training in between, so I felt like I already had a lot of knowledge, which was part of my healing process. But
Mm,
I focused instead on the postpartum part of it, and
yeah.
yeah, studied about healthy foods and breastfeeding and resting and all
Yes.
these things, and try to prepare more for that than the actual labor itself.
Hmm. Amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, then again I was like, okay, well, I told my new partner that I was interested in a home birth, and initially he was like, hell nah.
Hell no.
Hell
Hell no.
no. Like, no, I don't feel so comfortable with this. And I'm like, well, let's just, talk to a midwife and see how you feel. And try not to convince him. So we did
Yeah.
actually meet with a home birth midwife quite early. And she also
Uh-huh.
took a look at my charts because I told her, I had this hemorrhage before. And she's like, yeah, I'm not so concerned. It seems like it was more because of the situation you were in, not like you're inclined to bleed more. So she was
Mm.
like, yeah, if you want my services, I'll be happy to help you, and give us all the information and whatnot. And we kept in touch a little bit during my pregnancy. But then I think around 35 weeks or so, I mean, when I was getting a little bit closer to birth, the more I thought about it, I just got this like not so good feeling in my stomach. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel so good. My partner's not 100% on board.
Mm.
And I just get this like an intuitive feeling that it's going to go quick, and what if she doesn't make it there, because the midwife lives like across from Squanet, so she had like a 3 hour minimum time to get to me.
Oh.
So I told her, I was like, I think I'm just going to go to the hospital again because it doesn't feel so safe for me to have to wait at home for someone to arrive, then I better just put myself where I need to be, you know. And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course, you know, if you change your mind, just let me know. She was very sweet. And yeah, so this is then the day before the due date. My now husband goes to work in the afternoon because he worked like afternoon evenings at a restaurant. So he went to work, and like maybe 10 minutes later, I get my first contraction, but not like a proper, you know, contraction. I'm like, whoa,
No.
right, this is what it feels like. I've forgotten. And I
So
was like, okay.
how many years was this after you had
So
your
this
son?
was 3.5 years after.
3.5 years after. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, this is
Yeah. Because with my son, you know, it started quite soft first, you know, just like a little feeling. Here it really went like right on. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then a couple of minutes passed, and then I got
hmm
another one. So I called him at work, and I'm like, okay, you know, I think labor is like starting, but you know, it takes a little while, so no stress, you know, but maybe check if some coworker can, you know, cover for you if you need to leave. He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you know. But then the contractions just keep coming and coming every like 3 minutes, another one, another one. I'm like, okay, this is not stopping.
Oh
So
my
I call him
gosh.
again after like 15 minutes. I'm like, actually get home now. He's like, okay. He just ran out of work and came back home.
Oh.
And I mean, he's super sweet, but he's not like the best in like these, what is it, not medical situations, but you know, if one of the kids get injured, or if I'm in pain or something, he's just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not his strongest side. So he gets home and he's like, you know, on his phone. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm calling a taxi. We're going right now. I'm like, we don't have to go yet. He's like, we're going right now. Okay, okay, let's
I
go
can't
though.
control this situation. We are going.
No, so this is like, yeah, I was home maybe like an hour, you know, and I was like a little bit ashamed to go in after just 1 hour. So I lied actually, and I was like, I've been in labor for at least two. Like, okay.
No.
And
Sometimes you have to.
I
You have to
know,
lie.
well, like they're not gonna let me come in after just 1 hour, like. But yeah, but I got in, and this was, you know, in the middle of the summer, and
Mm,
I kind of had a similar request, you know, as the first one. Try to not as little intervention as possible. I would love to give birth in water. And at this time, I
mm,
went to the Malmo hospital because we didn't have a car, and they don't want to take a taxi all the way to Ystad.
mm.
So I went to Malmo, and yeah, we get there, and at that point, you know, the contractions are coming regularly, like at least every 2-3 minutes, and they're quite
Yeah.
strong. And yeah, the midwife that takes me in, she was like, yeah, we don't have, our bathtub is not available right now, so you can't be in the water. You're also not allowed to give birth in water. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like,
Oh.
yeah, I can't really help you with any of that. And I was like, okay, well, can you help me with something? She's like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, you can get the gas if you want.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, well, give me the gas.
Yeah. Fine.
Bye, you know. And yeah, she like connects it, and I told her like, if when the bathtub gets available, please, you know, I would really like to go.
hmm
And
Because they only have one bathtub in the whole
yes,
hospital
they only
of
had
the
the
third
one.
largest hospital, third
Yeah,
largest city in Sweden.
it's
One bathtub.
ridiculous. One bathtub in like in the middle of the hallway. Like you have to like leave the room and go to this bathroom,
Oh,
you know.
oh my
But
gosh.
she came back like 20 minutes later. She's like, yeah, you know, the bathtub is available now. We're just gonna clean it and then we'll fill it up for you. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Oh.
Perfect. So I went into the bathtub, and there was super nice. You know, my husband put on some music, we had some snacks. I was just like
Mhm.
floating around. Uh, yeah, it was really lovely. Again, highly recommend water. And yeah, and then I think after a little while, you know, the contractions are getting quite intense. Another midwife comes in just to like listen to the heartbeat.
Yeah.
And this is the midwife that I had worked with a little bit in the postnatal ward as well. She works like all over. And I was like, oh, thank God, it's someone I know. And it's someone I know as well to be, I mean, she gave birth to her kids at home, for instance. So it's like someone I know that might have the same kind of, interests as me when it comes to giving birth.
So
So I was just so
lucky.
happy when I saw her. I'm like, oh, you're here. And then I asked her, I was like, can you please be my midwife instead? She's like, ah. And I was like, because I feel like, I feel like I'm close and I would really
Mhm.
like to give birth here in the water. And she's like, oh, let me just talk to the one that you were assigned and see what she says. And then she came back. She's like, yeah, okay, I can be in charge of you. And she was very clear. She's like, as you know, you're not really allowed to give birth in water here, but
Mhm.
you have the right to decide where you want to give birth. So if you really want to be here, then you can be here.
Mhm.
But if anything is like out of the ordinary, and if I tell you that you have to come up, then you need to come up, right away. And I can't
Mm.
really give you any other like medications or anything here. Just so you know, I'm like, it's fine because I think he's gonna come right now. And of course, just like that, she examined me. She's like, yeah, the baby's very low and you're pretty much fully dilated. So just follow your body. And just when she said it,
Oh,
I'm like, oh, thank God, follow my body. What a nice feeling.
yes.
And a few minutes later, she was born. It went so quick that like
Wow.
the pushing phase, she just like yeah, she just kind of not really flew out, but she just went out really quick and smoothly, and then came up
Oh,
onto my chest in the water and screamed right away, and it was super cool.
oh,
And
wow.
and in retrospect, like from that first contraction till she was born, it was 3 hours and like 10 minutes.
What?
So it was very quick. And thinking that the home birth midwife needed at least 3 hours to get to me, I was very happy that I went to the
Yeah.
hospital
And
after
also
all.
that, yeah, and also that your husband was like, we're going right now.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yes. So that birth was in a way also very healing, and I got like a small tear, but compared to the first one when I had the episiotomy, it was so different. Like the healing part was I
Oh,
could barely even notice. And
wow.
I didn't have a hemorrhaging. I had like a normal, the normal amount that you bleed after a birth. So everything was
Mm,
great. She breastfed right away. And six
mm,
hours later, we went home and had the
oh,
baby hema, where the midwives come home to you the next day. So
oh,
it was
that's
just so cool. It's like we give birth at 7, went home at like 2 o'clock at night. I had like the best sleep I've had in months,
oh my gosh.
and woke up to
Oh,
like a whole new world with 2 little kids, and yeah, it
oh.
just felt completely different. It was definitely a very, very healing experience, that birth.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. That's incredible. I'm so glad you got that experience and that midwife too, that you got her on that shift, that those 3 hours that you were like there for,
Yeah,
just so incredible. Like just it's what you deserve. You know what I mean? It's like you after what you went through that first time, that was the birth you needed to have and were meant to have. And
yeah.
oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was lovely. And it also opened the door to, uh, thinking of that first date with my husband when he said that he wanted to have, kids or many kids, quote.
Oh, really?
Having that
Yeah.
birth experience kind of also opened the door to, okay, maybe one more then,
Wow.
but not now.
Okay, so how
So,
long does it go before you're like, I'm pregnant or like, oops, again?
yeah. Yeah, so it took another like 3.5, almost 4 years in between the next two.
Oh,
So it's been about
okay.
4 years between each child. But the last one was actually not an oops. The last one is the only one that has been planned.
Oh, wow. How long did that take to get
Uh,
pregnant? How long did you guys try for?
uh, honestly, we went on the first try. I'm almost like a little ashamed to say it because I know a lot of people are
No.
struggling, and are having a hard time getting pregnant, and I have so much respect for that. It can't be easy. But no,
Yeah.
we because at that time I was studying to be a midwife, and my only like request was that I want to at least graduate. I don't want pregnancy to come in between my like graduation. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we were like counting backwards, and I was like, hey, well, if we get pregnant, now, then I
Hmm.
will at least have time to graduate. Oh, okay.
Right, because I remember too that she was, or that when you were pregnant when we met, and you were like, "Yeah, and I'm due in July." I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just that timing is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was very like, okay, I think I'm ovulating, tomorrow. So you want to go for it? He's like, okay. And so it
No, that's
happened.
amazing. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, so how is this third pregnancy now? As you are now like you're almost a midwife and you have all this experience, you've been a doula, you have two kids. Like, how is that? How does that pregnancy go?
So yeah, the third pregnancy is, I would say, mentally very
Mm,
easy because
mm,
I mean, you know that your body can do this. You have done it before. You know that everything passes, the good and the bad.
yeah.
Physically more difficult because you have two other kids to take care of. And, for
Hmm.
me, I was also studying full time. I would maybe not recommend studying to be a midwife and getting pregnant at the same time.
But when you have a timeline, you gotta, I mean, you really got it done. I mean, that's incredible. You did the hardest way you could do it, and you did it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, either I'm pregnant now while I'm studying, or I get pregnant when I'm like newer at the job. So either way, it's gonna
Mm,
be not ideal.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
yeah, I
for
think
sure.
it was good. It was definitely a heavier pregnancy because I just
Hmm.
felt, yeah, I think the third one, like I said, was physically more heavy, and
Mm,
I could also feel like the baby felt heavier, and I was a lot more tired, but mentally it
mm,
felt easier. And
mm,
and for the birth as well, I was yeah, I felt really like excited, I'd say, to
mm,
do it. Also thinking like this is probably going to be my last time, and
yeah,
and for me, it was like I just want to do it without that gas this time. I want to feel that I don't need to
yeah.
like search for anything else. I know I can do it, but I need like the right support, if you will, to just kind of
Hmm.
like push me through. And I know it's not like a prestige or that it's bad to use any kind of pharmaceutical or medical pain relief, not at all. But it was just for me, it was not that I needed the pain relief as much as I just needed support, at that
Yeah,
moment. And
yeah. And I think it's also like important to say like when you really want a physiological experience, like a lot of people don't want that, and that's totally fine, and that's why there's drugs, and they help everyone have a more positive experience who want the pharmaceuticals. But for like people like us, for example, that really desire and need like that inner healing for whatever reason of like I want to feel everything. I want to feel everything. I want to like yeah, I want that physiological experience. It becomes your goal in a way. And then, like I
yeah,
said, when you didn't get it both of those times and you have that huge desire inside of you, like I really just want to see what my body can do without anything. Like again, not the prestige about it, but just like that inner knowing or that inner trust, or for whatever reason we want that experience. It's like, yeah, you should try everything and do everything to try and get that and set that up.
exactly. Exactly.
Mm,
Yes, you put it so beautifully there. And that's exactly how I was
mm.
feeling. And I was kind of like, okay, this is probably my last shot at a completely physiological birth. And I had a bit of a scare because I when I did my clinical practice, well, I mean, when you were there as well, I had a
Mm,
patient in one of my last births that I attended as a midwife student. She was also having her third child, and
mm,
she had a shoulder dystocia, and it
oof,
kind of like I hadn't had one before, and it just really it really got to me, you know. I think it was, yeah,
mm,
one of my last births that I had, and it just
oof,
scared me, and I was like, I haven't really like thought so much about that with my other kids, and now that just became, it kind of haunted me a little bit. So that was also like in the back of my head, and
mm,
uh, and then my midwife was saying like, you know, okay, your belly's a little bit too big. Maybe we need to do an extra ultrasound to
mm,
see if you have a big
what?
baby. I'm like, oh gosh, okay.
Mm.
And they did that, and they're like, yeah, you know, plus, I think they said plus 10% or something. So they're like, yeah, it's not so bad, you know, but don't eat too much
But you
sugar.
have a big baby.
Yeah, but she's
Wow.
a little bit big. I'm like, I know, I feel it. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, anyway, so then, you know, my other two babies have come or around the due date or a little bit past. So with
Uh-huh.
her, I was about 10 days before the due date. So I wasn't
Oh,
really like prepared to, like mentally that she was gonna come at that time.
yeah.
But it was also all the births have started in different ways. So this one, the third one, me and my husband were just at home. He was also gonna work in the evening, I think. And we had
Mm,
dropped off the kids to school and to daycare, and it was just us. And I was like, hey, you know, we're both kind of tired. Let's just have a little power nap before you go to work and before I gotta pick up the kids again. It's like, yeah, okay, that's nice. So we like laid on the couch, you know, kind of cuddled in, and uh,
mm.
and I'm just about to daze off into my power nap sleep, and then I just hear this click, you know, or the snap, and then just the water just broke, like in a movie, and I'm like, oh shit. And he's like,
Oh my
what?
God.
What? I'm like, my water broke. And he's looking down at the whole couch, just like soaked.
No. You hadn't prepared maybe with waterproof sheets on the couch.
And no, no, never. Because the other two kids, the waters broke like at the hospital when I was already like in active labor. And with the second one, they broke while I was pushing. So it was like, I wasn't prepared for this at all. But yeah, the water broke. He runs up and he's like, okay, let's go. Let's go to the hospital. And I'm like, whoa, can you give me a towel first? Well, give me a towel. Let me just call them because I didn't have any contractions at that point.
Mm.
And he's like, oh, okay. And I call him. They're like, yeah, you can come in a couple of hours for a checkup if nothing has happened. They're like, it's pretty full right now. Maybe if you want to go to Lund. I'm like, I don't want to go to Lund. I want to go to Malmo because I know everyone there. And they're like, yeah, yeah, okay, but you know, just relax, take it easy. And I was just like, okay, well, you know, this is kind of nice because I know that labor is going to start one way or another soon.
Mm.
So I, you know, finished packing my bags. I took a shower, put on some makeup, had a banana. And then when I laid back down to rest, then I got, you know, my first contraction, and it was like one really long one. I think it was like
Oh.
2.5 minute long or something. And I'm like, oh my God. And again, you
Mm.
know, oh, is this what it feels like? Except it was super long. And then,
Oh
yeah, maybe
no.
like 10 minute pass.
Hmm.
And then I got another one, not so painful and not so long, but just, you know, I feel them starting coming.
Hmm.
And my husband
That's
again is
it's
like, shouldn't we go soon? I'm like, just wait a little bit, let me call in. And then I call them, and they're like, yeah, we have one bed available right now. And then my husband's from the back, and like, we're taking it. I'm like, okay, okay. I'm like, okay, well, can I come in? You know, because it feels like it's starting to be painful. And again, I'm like, oh, this is like too early to go. And he's like, well, you can't stay here. Remember last time it went super quick. I'm like, okay, okay, fine, let's go. Let's pack up and go. And yeah, we took a taxi in, but then in the taxi, it got super intense really quick. The contractions were so painful.
Were they long still?
Not longer than than they're supposed to be, but
Oh.
they felt super intense. And I remember
Mm.
thinking to myself during this whole labor actually that this is definitely the most painful births I've had compared to the other
Oh.
ones. Like the contractions were way more painful, or like just like
Mm.
strong and intense, you know. And I felt a lot of pain like in my in the front of my pubic bone, which I haven't felt with the others, which I think is because she
So,
was bigger than her siblings, maybe.
okay. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so your waters are broken. You're in the taxi. Things are
I'm
getting
in
more
the
intense.
taxi, yes. And yeah, we get to the hospital. It felt like it took forever, you know, that taxi driver was driving so slow. And it's like, I'm driving extra slow for you. I'm like, please don't drive extra fast for me.
Yeah. In labor here.
In labor here. And so we got there at the hospital, and I had already told them that I was interested in a water birth. So they had prepped that room for me with the big bathtub,
Oh, the
uh, the
VIP
v,
room.
the VIP room, because you know this is 4 years after the other birth. So now we have water birth in Sweden, which is lovely, and there are more than
Hmm.
one option. There are pools and there's the bathtub. This point it's like 2:30, and my water had broken around 12, I think. So I get there at
Oh,
two
wow.
thirty, and uh, and I'm kind of like walking all hunched forward because I feel so much pressure downwards. Not that I wanted to push or anything, just that it felt so heavy and just a lot of pain in my pubic bone. So then, and then I get the midwife comes in, or she meets me at the door, and she sees me like being all hunched over, and and she goes, "Do you want me to start the gas for you?" And I'm like, "No, yes, please."
No,
And
no
it just
gas.
got me like instantly so irritated. I'm like, how can that be the first thing you say? Like, and so like I look up and I see that it's a midwife that's quite new there. I met her when I was doing my clinical practice, but I don't really like know her. So I'm just like, I've been through this now. This is my third time. I gotta like
Mm.
stand up for myself a little bit. So I sat there on the bed, and like they connected me to like listen to the baby and all these things. And I just said to her, I don't mean to be rude, and it's nothing personal, but I would really feel much more comfortable if it was someone that I've worked with, or that I know, that works here.
Mm.
I'm like, is there any
Mhm.
chance that I could change who's my midwife? And she's like, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
of course. Like I did the same when I gave birth back where I'm from. There's no problem. Well, and I asked, well, who's
Oh.
working today? And they gave me like a little list of names. And then I saw that the midwife that attended my second child's birth was actually working today as well. The one that
Oh.
I was so happy with. I'm like, oh, we want her.
Oh.
And they're like, okay, well, then let me go talk to her, see if she's available. I'm like, tell her it's me. She'll make herself available.
Exactly.
And yeah, a few minutes later, she comes in, and it just felt so much better, because I mean, she knows me. She knows what I want. I don't have to explain myself to
Hmm.
her, and I know that she will respect my choices. And it also
Hmm.
felt good knowing that my partner knows her and can feel more, safe with her.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was just great. I'm like, oh, perfect. This is exactly what I needed. And at this point, I'm still like in the bed, and they're listening to the baby, and I'm just trying to breathe through these super intense contractions. And now my best friend, who I invited to be at my birth, also comes by. And it
Oh.
was very like, because she also, she works full time and she has two kids. So we were like, if the stars align, she will be there. But they did, because she had just finished work. So she's like, I'll come by right after work. And
Oh.
she came in, and I was like, okay, now everyone's here. This is great. Um, and then my midwife, she asked, do you want me to examine you? And I was like, yeah, you can just, check where we're at. what's our current status? And she's like, yeah, you're 5 centimeters dilated, with the head is very low and it's very like, yeah, very thin edges. I don't know, edges of the cervix. But
Mhm.
she's like, it's probably not going to be too long, considering this is your
Mhm.
third. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I want to be like in the bathtub. It's like, yeah, they had already prepped
Mm.
it for me. So the biggest mission was trying to get myself from the bed to the bathtub, which was not so easy. But once I got in, I'm like, oh, nice. Again, it's so nice.
Oh,
Get like a few
oh,
contractions that are not so painful at all, but then of course it comes back and you still feel, I mean, the intensity and everything. But the water really helps with, how I can move and just like the kind of like a big warm hug.
Mhm.
And so I'm in the water and I had my husband close to me. His instructions were keep close and stay quiet. And he was close and he was quiet, so he did great.
Oh.
And then I had my best friend was there and she like fixed my hair and she took some photos and gave me
Oh,
juice to drink. And then the
yeah.
midwife was just sitting there at the other end and she was there but she was also like quite quiet and I knew she was there but that's all I needed, to know that she's around. And
Yeah.
the nurse assistant was also there. So I was like, okay, everyone is here. And everyone, it was super quiet in the room, but in my head, it was like a storm, because I could read
Really.
every contraction was so intense. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh.
Wow. And I could really feel that I was very aware this time, like much more mentally aware of everything than
Mm.
my two previous births. I felt like it was kind of like fuzzy and I kind of drifted away into my own little bubble. But now I was very much there.
Mm.
And yeah, it was really cool that like during my contractions, I try to like kind of examine myself and feel the baby's head, where she was and how things were progressing.
I I love that. I love that you did that.
Yeah. I thought about it before and I was like, well, if it feels, natural, then I'll do it. And in the water, it really did. Like it's obviously a very intimate thing. And I think if I was like
Hmm.
laying on the bed, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But in the water, it's like nobody can really see. And I don't know, it just felt right. So I
Hmm.
could just feel like her head, coming down each contraction and me trying to like
Oh.
not because even when I wanted to push, I didn't want to push too hard because I wanted her to come out slowly. Even
Hmm.
though at one point I just want to, just push with everything that I have to just get her out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was a really, really empowering experience, the last one. And even at the
Mm.
end, like because my best friend filmed the end of when the baby's head and body and everything is born. So I've rewatched that a
Oh.
few times. And
Oh.
it's, I can see that like my midwife, she's there. And when I tell her to help me, hold me. And then her hand comes in and she like kind of holds my leg a little bit just to kind of hold me stable. So she doesn't really intervene in any way. She's just there, and it's just my hand on the baby's head. It's like a perinatal protection. So it's just me
Exactly.
holding on the
Mm.
baby, and the head comes out. And then I like change position and lay more like towards the back, so that the baby's facing more towards the midwife.
Mm.
And then I wait for the next contraction after the head comes out. And with my other kids, they have just kind of like shot out after the head comes out super quick. But this one, like when the next contraction comes and she doesn't like just pop out, I like for a second freak out thinking about this shoulder dystocia that I had a few months ago. And I'm like, oh my
Mm.
God, is she stuck? And I had this
Yeah.
second, freak out. So then I just scream and push with all my might. And then she comes and I'm like, pull her out, take her out, I scream. And my midwife's like, she's out, just reach down your hand. I'm like, okay. And yeah, I take her
Oh.
up and then it just goes so quiet. She doesn't scream right away, but she's like looking at me and looking at her father. she's kind of moving, she's very aware, but she doesn't have that
Hmm.
newborn cry yet. But it's so sweet. Everyone else is crying, but not the baby. It was super beautiful, that one. But also, I have to say, I remember it as very intense and honestly very painful as well,
Mm.
in a way that I can't remember that the other ones were.
Yeah. It's so wild how they always say that, the third child is like the wild card, and how like you like usually first one's going to take time, second one goes faster, especially the pushing part, but the third one, like the wild card, we don't know. It can go either way. It can take a long time, it can be really quick, or it can be like you're saying, like much more painful.
Yeah,
And but yeah, wow, that's just that
but
redemptive of like you did that. It was all you this time.
yes, definitely. And I felt that. And whenever I had a bad day or like postpartum when I was feeling low, I would watch that
Mm.
video and be like, damn right, I did that.
Yes, I did that. I can do anything now.
But exactly. But it's like I checked the timeline as well because I called the hospital around 2 o'clock in the
Mm,
afternoon, and we were
yeah.
there at 2:30, and she was born at 3:35.
Whoa.
So it was just an
Oh,
hour and a half with contractions. So obviously they had to be very intense for a baby to be born, which makes
yeah,
sense. It was such a short
that makes
time, but
sense.
they were very, very strong, these ones.
I mean, you must have needed to really be inward there with your breath and just the calmness of, all the prep that you've done, knowing all that you know this time and bringing all that to this moment.
Like an accumulation of everything I've done in my life, all the, being a
Mm,
doula, now a midwife, and yeah, everything helped in that moment. And also, it felt
mm,
great to have the birth team that I had, like to know my partner was there and my best friend, and that because they get along really well with each other as well. So now that they could support each other, and to have a midwife that I've both worked with and that has
mm.
attended my previous births, yeah, it was wonderful. I couldn't have asked for anything else.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was really, really lucky that she was just working there, that you got the same midwife both times. I mean, that's just, it matters more than I think people realize of like the people in the room matter so much. Yeah. Wow. Oh, well, wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of these three beautiful stories. I think it's so just inspiring to hear from birth workers and midwives, their births and how they reflect on them afterwards. And yeah, just for sharing so vulnerably and so detailed. I love it so much. I think it's just needed to have more birth stories out there. And yours are just incredibly empowering. And I mean, if you were to look back now of like anything that you maybe wish that you would have known before, or any advice that you would want to give anyone that's preparing for birth, is there anything that you would want to let people know?
Well, I would definitely say that, I mean, I, I love preparing for birth. I think it's very important to kind of figure out what's important to you, like what do you want and what do you don't want, but maybe more especially what do you want and how can you try to make that happen. But also be
Mm.
very humble to that not everything is within your control. Um, but also, especially if it's your first baby, prepare for postpartum. It comes smack dab right after you give birth, so there's not much time to prep after. And it's
Hmm.
also a very important part of of becoming a parent, a mother, and yeah, a part of your life. So prepare for that period, the fourth trimester or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
So definitely that, and also don't be afraid to speak up and say what it is you want. Tell it to your partner or whoever's going to be at the birth with you, a friend. Um, Tell it to your midwife if it feels off with the people that are in the room. I think it's just important to say it, because it's not doing yourself a service of having someone there that you don't really want, or that's not, or just giving you the wrong vibe, or and it doesn't really do them a service either. So
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
No, I
definitely
love
those things.
I love that. No, I mean we can't stress postpartum enough. Like it's so, so important. And yeah, like you said, the people in the room, like really advocate for yourself and make sure your partner knows that, hey, if I don't feel the vibe or the energy and I can't speak for whatever reason, or I can't find the words, you need to do it in that case, just because like that communication in that moment is it's so important. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing those.
And also to maybe have someone else besides your partner, to be honest. I think we
Yes.
put a lot of pressure on our partners to be everything and to know everything and to advocate for
Mhm.
us, and I think it's a lot for them, probably more than we could ever know. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
someone that's going to be there during the whole birth from start to finish, but someone else that can come
Mhm.
in for a little bit, a doula, a friend, a sister, or someone that you trust and that your partner also trusts, that can come in and just
Mhm.
be there for a little bit at least and help you to give birth, and help your partner a little bit as well,
Mm. Yeah, and
and
some
take some
take some
photos.
the photos and videos. Exactly. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that's like the one you want to remember that day. Like no matter how your
Yes.
birth goes, to be able to, you can delete them later if you don't want them, but that to just have them it's a gift.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Photos
Mm.
and videos.
Yes, videos. No, I love that so much, Charlotta. And I am just so grateful for you coming on and sharing your stories and taking the time with your little daughter. I mean, she's so adorable. And now you're 7.5 months out from, you know, doing this incredible thing, just redemptive birth that
Yeah.
you had. I mean, how are you doing now? Just to end on that note, how are you doing now?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's yeah, the transition between like 2 and 3 kids haven't been that bad, honestly.
Mm,
And
mm,
also like the healing part was very quick, if I want to say like that.
mm,
So yeah, we've been good. I've been home
mm.
with her, and in about a month, I'm gonna go back to work part time, and my husband's gonna be home with her part time. So that
Oh,
feels also good, a little bit scary.
yeah,
But it's gonna be a nice change. And
yeah.
yeah, I feel like this her coming into our family and this world was a good, also kind of like closing of our baby making chapter.
The best possible ending for
Yeah,
sure.
you want to end up top, so I
Exactly.
feel
I don't
like
want to
I have
mess with
done that.
it.
No, no, don't get greedy.
Oh. Oh
No,
my
I feel very
gosh.
good. I do. Very blessed.
Mm.
Very blessed.
Oh. Well, you're amazing. And yes, I look forward to continue following your journey as a midwife. And yeah, I can't wait to hear how it is working in the field and doing the thing for so many other women out there. And just grateful for you choosing this field and making such a huge impact on the birth world. We need more midwives that have, been doulas first and that have, it's just a different role. And I think that
Mm.
you are bringing so many things into this field that are just so needed. And I'm just so grateful for you being here and walking this path
Mm.
with me and all the other birth workers out there. So
Oh,
thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Charlotte.
Thank you
Of
to
course.
you. Thank you for inviting me. And I hope we get to work together soon again.
I know, me
Mm.
too.